Hey, messy ones, welcome back to Buried Truth, the podcast where we drag the wildest scandals out of the Bible and talk about them like we're gossiping over coffee. Well, maybe not coffee, maybe like a chai tea, maybe like a dirty soda. Oh, I love lemonade. I have a lemonade that I'm just obsessed with. Anyway, well, whatever drink you have, come along with me because today's case file, Judah, you're going to want to hear it. You might know him as the namesake of one of the 12 tribes of Israel, or you might have no clue who he is, but trust me, his story is a full-blown scandal. He's got blood money, betrayal, baby mama drama, and a plot twist that could be its own Netflix series. Come along with me. Now, Judah, he was one of the 12 brothers, and their family, y'all, was a mess. Their dad, Jacob, played favorites. It just keeps going through generation after generation of playing favorites, and it just ends up messy every time. But follow along. So Joseph, Judah's brother, was the favorite, and his dad, he flaunted it. All the kids knew who the favorite is. Well, I guess our family does that too, because I know who the favorite is. The favorite is, we call him number one because he's the first and he's the oldest, and he got to, go to private school all his life, and he got to do all these things because he's number one. And you know what we got? Public school, which was just fine. But my biological father, he sure did have a favorite. The first son, yes, he did. But my brother's super dope and one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. So anyway, back to the story. So Joseph is the favorite, and his dad one day, in front of the other brothers, gives him a gift. He opens it, and it's like this beautiful robe, okay? And it's like all these different colors on it. It's like flashy, like, okay, look at me. Can you imagine that? You're hanging out with your siblings and your parent comes with a gift, and just one gift. No. It wasn't his birthday. It was because his daddy loved him too much. Well, not too much. He loved him, but he didn't love equally. Let's just say that. Okay, so the brothers start to get really jealous of him. So one day, Joseph, goes to see his brothers, and they decide, we're going to kill him. Like, let's take him out. They're that jealousy, that rage. They want to kill him. And the star of this podcast, Judah, he's like, y'all, no, don't kill him, y'all. And it wasn't to save his brother. It wasn't to be like, let's not, y'all, come on. I know he's the favorite. I know he's got that robe, but that's not right. No, he has another plan. Let's sell him. Excuse me? You're going to sell me to some traitors? You don't know what they're going to do to me. How is it, like, for some silver? Yep, they sure did. Yep. There were some traders going by. Here, you want my brother? Here you go. Thank you very much. Okay, we're gonna go have lunch. All right, let's eat lunch. Excuse me? You just gave up your brother and you're just gonna sit down and eat lunch. Y'all are just some cold family. Oh, but it keeps going. Now the story keeps going. They lied to their daddy that their brother was killed by an animal. So they dip the robe in blood, in animal blood, and take it back to their dad, Jacob. And of course, Jacob is crushed. He thinks Joseph's dead. And Judah just lets him think that for years. For years, y'all. They let their dad grieve a fake death. The gaslighting in this family is off the charts. And Judah was right smack in the middle of it, y'all. After he sells his brother for some coin, selling your brother Judah, what is going on with you, boo? Did you ever say, you know what, maybe we shouldn't sell him? Maybe we just need to deal with our anger issues and jealousy issues, and maybe we need some therapy medication in Jesus. But no, well, Jesus wasn't there yet. He comes later in the story, but anyway, well, he's always been there. He's forever. Okay, I don't want to confuse you. Back to the story. So, Judah decides to go and rebel against his family and marry and move to a city that they clearly were told not to go to. So, when your parents like, no, don't touch that. Don't go there. It's dangerous. And you think you know better. Judah thought he knew better. He's probably like, hey, have you seen that fine one over in the Canaanite town? Ooh, she looks nothing like anybody here. I'm going to go over there and have a taste. And what happens? And what happens, Judah? Oh, you'll see. You'll see. So he leaves his family. He's like, I'm out. Deuces. Don't call me. I'll call you. Yes. Return to sender. Don't be mailing me nothing. Yeah. Okay, y'all. Okay. I'm out. So he completely leaves his family and goes into a town that he's not supposed to be in. Hold that thought. There's more coming. So Judah marries and ends up having 3 sons. And the first son, I hope I'm saying it right, E-R. I mean, what's his name? Hey, y'all. Speaking of that, y'all with your crazy baby names, let me give you something. I have a very unique name, Drasana, and I always have to say, do you want me to spell it? And I have a nickname. People call me D because my mom had a great idea that, let me name my baby Drasana. That's a good idea. No. Name your baby something easy. Don't be trying to be wild and spell it different. Just easy, simple. Don't be making it hard for these kids going to the souvenir shop and can't find their name. Okay. I think I'm trauma dumping. Anyway, back to Judah. So Judah has 3 sons, and his first son ends up has a wife named Tamar. And the scripture literally says he was wicked in the sight of the Lord, in the sight of God, and God killed him. Yes, he don't play. God does not play. He's like, you're out, you wicked. That's scary. Can you imagine? You're just like, you're that bad that God's just like, you're out. You can't be here anymore. Lord, let that not be me, because I know I got a smart mouth. I get petty. Okay, don't take me out like that, Jesus, please. Anyway, okay, back to the story. So by custom, the next son is supposed to marry the brother's wife. Okay, so I'm confusing you. So that custom this is an ancient time. When a woman's husband dies, his brother's supposed to marry her and give her kids. This was called a levirate marriage. I hope I'm saying it right. And it was her lifeline. Without kids, no social standing, she had no protection, no financial security. Okay, so this is the context of this story. So dies because he's evil. And the next brother, you're up. You got to marry Tamar. Fulfill your duty. Give her a child. And y'all, you know what he does? Y'all, close your ears, little ones. You shouldn't even listen to this anyway. So he does his business and he pulls out. All right, that's basically what it is. And he lets the seed on the floor. So God's like, no. You didn't do right by Tamar. You're out too. I'm like, ooh. You know what, y'all? When I first became a Christian and read that, I was like, oh, so we're not supposed to pull out? Is pulling out bad? And oh my gosh, da 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 da. No, y'all. Well, we need to calm down as Christians sometimes. A lot of times the Bible is just telling a story and telling what happened, okay? Okay. I'm not telling you how to make a baby. Well, I can't even make a baby because, remember you guys, they gutted me like official. I can't have babies. I can have all the fun I want. Anyway, so then, 2 out of Judah's 3 kids are dead. And so he promises Tamar, hey girl, hey, when my youngest is old enough, you can marry him and then you can have your baby. So she trusts him, she trusts him, but wait till you see what happens. Some time passes and some more time passes and some more time passes. And Tamar realizes he's not going to give me his son. And I'm thinking, does Judah know that God just took him out? Like, or is he like, oh, she's a bad luck charm? Like some people think, oh, maybe it's her, girl. Maybe it's you. Maybe the problem's you. and didn't want to give his son and have his last son die. I'm not justifying his behavior. I'm not justifying. I'm just saying, as a parent, would you be like, okay, you are the common denominator in this situation. Stay away from my baby. Stay over there. But that's not what happens. I'm gonna tell you what happens. Tamar's like, he ain't gonna give me that, kid. So she got, you guys, she disguises herself as a prostitute, as a woman of the night, and waits on the road where Judah will pass. And you know what Judah does? He sleeps with her, not realizing who she is. And guess what? Guess what, y'all? She gets pregnant. First of all, when you read these stories, do you guys know, like, the quote unquote hero of the story is messy? He's out here sleeping with prostitutes, sleeping with his daughter-in-law. He didn't know it was his daughter-in-law. And we miss this kind of stuff in the storytelling. And it's important because it shows that nobody's got it together. Okay? Okay. And the story is just going to get messier and messier. And I know y'all are here for it. Because you know what? We are all this messy. But there's always hope, okay? But let me tell you, the story is crazy. So you know what happens, y'all? Judah finds out she's pregnant in an immoral way. She's out there getting pregnant, dragging my name through the bus. Not today. Not today, Tamar. You gonna burn, girl. You gonna burn. But wait a minute. Tamar is one of us, y'all. She keeps the receipts. So, when they had their little rendezvous, okay, Judah was like, oh, I'm low on cash. Dang it. What do you take? Can I Zelle you? Well, Zelle wasn't around. Can I Venmo? Well, Venmo wasn't around either. Okay. How about I hand you like my signet, like, rope or whatever he had. Whatever he had on him, he gave to her. Be like, I'll pay you later. Like, layaway booty. Is that what that was? It was like layaway booty. Like, I promised to pay for that booty. Okay. I know. I'm crazy, y'all. I'm crazy. So anyway, Mama brings the receipts and says, the father of this baby, here are his items. And in that moment, Judah was like, oh, snap. I'm the daddy. Yes, Judah. Yes, you are the dad. And in that moment, he does something. He says, she's more righteous than I am. So he owns it. He's like, oh, it was my bad. I'm sorry I was going to have you burned. But okay. So in that moment and in that time, it shows like a heart change, that he was willing to admit that he wronged her. So this is a shift. He went from, let's throw my brother under the bus and sell him for some silver, to, ooh, I made a mistake and I need to make it right. Years later, there's a famine. And so the brothers have to go to Egypt to get food. That's where the food was. And guess who's running the show in Egypt? Joseph. Yes, the one that they threw in the pit and then sold and then had lunch. Wow. I'm telling you, I feel like God has a sense of humor. He's like, oh, really? Oh, really? You're going to throw your brother? Okay, I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to have him rule Egypt. Try me. So they get there, and this is when you notice a shift in Judah's, heart, because Joseph, who they can't tell is Joseph at the moment because he looks Egyptian and he looks different. He wants to see if they felt guilty for doing that, like to make sure that they had learned their lesson in a way. And he's like, well, I'm going to keep one of the brothers, Benjamin. And Judah says, no, take me. So that's the moment you realize, oh, he has changed. He has changed. So that's also a shift in Judah. What does Judah have to do with you? And let me tell you, everything. I tell these stories because, as I've shared before, I was not raised in the church. I did not become a Christian until I was 21. My biological father is Muslim, so I was raised in that religion for a little bit. And then my mom was Catholic for a little bit, so I also did that and did all of my communion and all that stuff, right? Confirmation, all that stuff. And then she kind of became New Age, so then she became spiritual. So anyway, the point is, when I started reading scripture, and I'm reading these stories, and I'm like, this is insane. You know, if you want a telenovela, you just go through the Bible, okay? And the purpose and the reason that God has these stories in there is to show us that he is in the midst of all of it. Because Judah, down the line, further down the line, would come Jesus. And who's Jesus? Well, what does Jesus have to do with me? Everything. Because God requires perfection. And let me tell you, I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. And God, being the loving Father that he is, gave us Jesus. And Jesus did choose to come down and live a perfect life that we can never live, die, and take upon all of our sin to be a replacement for us, because we could never be good enough. Died and rose again so that we could be with God for eternity. And that's all that matters. That's what this life is about. It's not about what are we going to get out of it? Where, you know, how can I do this? It's about where am I going to go when this life is over? That is the point of Judah. And I love his mess because I joke about it, but honey, his mess looks a lot like mine. This is The Messy Middle, where grace meets chaos and I stop pretending I have it all together. Sometimes it's a story, sometimes it's a confession, sometimes it's just me trying to make sense of the mess. Let's get into it. Whew, can we take a deep breath after Judah? Because I've been wanting to share that story for so long, because when I was a new believer and reading about, these stories, and I'm like, wait a minute, a line of Judah, and I was like following the story. I was like, what? And Jesus came out of his line, and it just blew my mind. And so I share that story because I'm like, because I'm messy. Y'all know it. So I wanted to talk about, did you guys hear this going around social media that the rapture was going to happen? Boy, please. Now, if you don't know what the rapture is, for those who may not know what it is, it's Jesus talks about coming back, because he went to heaven, he ascended into heaven, and one day he's going to come back for his church, which is his people, and they're going to be caught up. Is basically it. So meaning, he's going to take us up, and so people are over here like, oh, rapture is happening. The rapture is happening. You must not read your Bibles, because Bible is clear that no one knows when the time is. Okay, so there we go. Okay, and he comes like a thief in the night. So let's be prepared. Let's stop worrying about when the rapture is going to happen. But who are we right now? Are we following Jesus, or are we following something else? Okay, y'all are a mess. And so I want to tell you this story about years ago. Oh, I laugh at myself, you guys, because I gotta laugh at myself. So I'd only been a Christian for maybe a couple years, if that. And I'd heard of the rapture, and I've heard of this story about, God's going to take us up. And I was always so scared, like, oh my gosh, he's going to take me up and what's going to happen and how's that going to work and da 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 da. And so one day I'm driving to church and I pull into church and it is completely empty, y'all. I mean, no one in sight, not a one car. Church is locked up. And I was like, that's it. That's it. The rapture's happened and I'm not going to be in it. I guess I didn't make it, y'all. I guess I didn't make it. And I was a hot mess. So I called the only person that I knew that was a Christian, which was my friend Nicole. And I call her. She doesn't answer the phone. Of course, because she probably got raptured. She probably is up in there with Jesus looking at me like, bye, girl. You on your own. And she doesn't answer the phone. So then I think I called her mom and her sister because they're Christians too, and they didn't answer their phone. So I am freaking out that they left without me. They didn't give me the memo. And sure enough, I call and her dad answers, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, have you seen Nicole?" And he's like, "Baby, she's over here." I was like, "Okay, so she hasn't been raptured, y'all." I had a full-on panic attack. That I missed it. So if you're listening to this, I don't think rapture has happened. Because if you're listening to in the future, maybe it has happened. Anyway, that is to be determined. And I'm not God. I don't know when he's deciding to come back for us, boo-boo. But be ready. Be ready. You ain't never going to be good enough. And that's why you need Jesus. And sometimes a little bit of therapy. And sometimes a little bit of medication. On a side note, I should go back to that story. What had happened was the church, I'd missed the sermon the week before, and they moved service to a different date and time. So that's why nobody was at the church. It wasn't because of rapture. It was because Rosanna didn't go to church and hear that it was going to be changed. And that is this week's Messy Middle. Where we're gonna stop for today. Judah's story shows us that God doesn't edit out the scandals. He weaves them into his bigger story of redemption. But don't go anywhere, because next week we're shifting the spotlight. We're gonna go all the way back, y'all, to the beginning, to the very first woman, Eve. Before there was Judah and Tamar and Jacob and Rachel, there was a woman in a garden, a piece of fruit, and a choice that flipped the world upside down. And here's the kicker. Even in that moment of failure, God already whispered his rescue plan. We're going to talk about what that means for us today and how Eve's story points to Jesus in ways you may have never seen before. So make sure you're subscribed, leave a review if this podcast has you thinking differently about these ancient stories, and share it with a friend who loves a good messy drama. Because these stories aren't just drama, they're truth that leads to life. If you've got your own story you want my messy thoughts on, send it to me, burytruthpod@gmail.com. And until then, stay curious, stay rooted in truth.